Okay, this is What You Strappin, episode 21, and this is actually a watch that I revisited. Yes, I think it was in episode 2 that I first showed this, when I first received it, and I actually did return it because there was a number of issues that I found with it, but admittedly, it has always been something that attracted me still. I just like the dial layout, or I guess you can say technically the crystal, because a lot of the print, as you can see, get this focus, is actually on the crystal itself. The circle that runs around with Swatch, the yellow minutes and the white hours and towards the center are all there on the crystal, actually underneath. And I just like the look. It looks pretty cool. So I decided to give it another try because I was at the I was at the Worn and Wound Wind Up Watch Fair in San Francisco a week ago, and I had some extra time, and I knew that there was a Swatch store in around San Francisco, around that area. So I decided to go down and check it out and see what they have. And I actually was thinking about this and saying, well, let me see if they have it, and if they have it for, let me see if I can examine it before I purchase it, and see if it's free of the flaws that I found in it, most of them. And mainly it was the dust issue underneath the crystal and on the dial that I had before. Wasn't too happy about that, understandably, especially since this is a black dial, and you just want these things to just read clear, what's printed on there, and not have anything floating around somewhere inside the watch, underneath the dial, or directly underneath the crystal. And I did go through 5. I think this was the 5th one. I went through 5. I don't know if they even had more, but I kind of said screw it after that, in terms of trying to find anything that might be much better than this example that I found. Under this normal lights, it's hard to see what was, if there was any dust or anything underneath. But once I brought it near the window, that's usually when I could see most things. It really helps out to see if there's a speck on the dial or on the crystal or both. And there were on a number of them. And that's why it took me 5 times to find one that nearly didn't have any. There was one little speck towards the center of this one near the 4 hour, but it's so small and insignificant, and it might just flake off anyways. I don't think it's even there anymore. That it probably doesn't matter. I figure, that's fine. I kind of accepted these aren't going to be super perfect anyways, like in terms of the seconds alignment to the ticking. It can look aligned sometimes and other times not, but it's close enough for me. So that's fine. And, it's not really just generally telling the time the way the hour and whatever the minutes hands are. You can look past it towards the second track to see exactly what the minute is, of course, but these are just for fun. And I was probably being a little bit critical, but I did not. I was just trying to find the best example I could, since I was there, to be able to do it. Because the previous one I bought was from the Swatch store online, and obviously I can't make any decisions or see any before I purchase. And so there we go. We're back on this. I think this is I've just been wanting to get another Swatch in for a while. I guess I said the last time I bought a new Swatch was about 2019. It probably was about 2010, I think. Maybe even before that. But it's been a while. I think it's been actually nearly 12 years, if I remember correctly. I think it was closer to 2004 or 5 when I last bought one. So yeah, quite a long time ago. So there we go. It's more modern size, 40 millimeters. Stock strap, of course. It's just That's what kept me from going back to it for a while, was the proprietary lug system. You probably could modify a strap and just cut out a couple like slots on the edges to make it fit more or less like this. If it doesn't have to go straight all the way to be flush with the lugs, you could go with, I believe these are 19 millimeters. Um, if you're measuring just from the very outside of where it goes into the case, I guess. I can't point with my other hand because I'm holding the phone. But know that you need to probably get at least a 19 millimeter strap to fit in there, and then cut out, two slots kind of towards the middle. You can see there, and then you could probably fit it in okay and get it to work if you wanted to, or find hopefully a Swatch strap, that accessory that you can swap out if you wanted to. I think this might be pretty cool on a perforated strap, actually, because I think this is considered almost a sort of sporty, almost racing or motorsport design. I don't know, does it? I can sort of see that, it sort of looks like something you might see inside like a car, like an instrument gauge or something. You got that line going across the top, you got some numbers, markers, pointers, I don't know. It's more stylized on this. I do wear this watch because of the way another complaint that I had about the watch before was the way the case was shaped. It is basically scaled up from the classic 36 millimeter or 34 millimeter size, so it's a bit. So I think it doesn't flow off the wrist as well because the case is longer or wider, and depending on your wrist size, of course. See how I mentioned these things about the lugs, the way they kind of, it doesn't just go curved down to your arm, it kind of pulls in or down a bit first, and then it goes around. I mean, it's comfortable, but it's not the most fluid shape. But that's why I would wear and am wearing it on my right wrist, because it is a little bit larger than my left. I'm a right-handed person, and I think in that sense it seems to fit better than it would on the other one. It still has some of that design shape that I'm talking about, that's coming off the lugs there, but it doesn't show it. It doesn't show it quite as much, I think, on this wrist. For me, at least, it doesn't seem like it. So that's all right. I don't mind wearing this on the opposite wrist than I normally would wear from time to time. What else is there? Yes, you might be able to hear. I almost forgot about this, but afterwards, like when you're in some place that's really quiet, you really can hear that ticking. It's quite loud, actually, considering I never could really hear that from my old Swatches, as I mentioned before. Not with that pull. This it's arm's length away, obviously, but I'd have to pull like my other watches, like probably at least 4, maybe 6 inches from my head or ears to be able to even try to hear the ticking of the quartz movement in the older versions. So that is something that is a curiosity as to why they made this loud. Unless this model itself is specifically somehow the way it's made is loud, but I can't imagine it would be that much different than any other one that of this line that looks, just has a different design look to it, still using the same movement. Yeah. So, but in most normal circumstances where it's not going to be dead quiet, it's fine. It does get kind of drowned out by ambient, white noise or whatever you want to call it, conversations and stuff. So it's not that bothersome for the most part. But I would definitely not wear this to bed at night, or even near me if possible, because it's a bit audible, especially when you're trying to sleep. Have a baby nearby too, which it shouldn't wake up, but it's still an additional noise that doesn't need to be there. And I probably would avoid bringing this to some sort of theatrical event, either live, like performing arts of some sort, or at a movie theater. because it could be heard by other people, including myself, in moments where um, silence is required. You know, you don't want to hear this the ticking going on in the back, right? Um, so yeah, so active outdoor, somewhere where you know that if you're not likely to notice or hear the ticking, then it's probably a good occasion to bring this out. Um, so that's pretty much it, or at least you know that there's a situation where you won't be bothered by this ticking. Um, then that's fine. So, anyways, it's a little bit longer than I wanted to kind of uh, to talk about this episode about what's on my wrist today. But I just felt it deserved a slight revisit and I guess mini review of this watch. It's still pretty much the same. Other than that, nothing to brag about. It's just a quartz movement. It's a Swatch. It's a design, a designer watch. I wouldn't say it's a fashion watch. I would say it's a personal style watch, a stylish watch, because fashion is kind of something that would be kind of locked into a certain period or genre, versus if you look at a lot of Swatch's design, and there's so many, and they're so you can't really categorize them for the most part. They're their own design, and they just have so many. It's just a very artistic, I would say, and again stylish, and there's an expression. Oops, my hand. It is an expression, an extension of your own self on what you want to fashion your wrist with. So I guess it's not really, but not in the same sense of it being necessarily fashionable. But yeah, I guess yeah, accessorize or style your wrist with, and just show like what kind of artsy kind of design and colors that you like to. That's not traditional to most watches that you like to show off and have some fun with. And so I think for that reason, these and stuff from the 80s when they first came out and all the way through, they don't really get locked down into that period, in my opinion. Um, they're just a style, it's just a swatch, and they kind of transcend all that. And I think on a similar note, I would say G-Shock, Casio G-Shocks kind of do the same thing in their own way. Um, they are definitely a product of the early 80s, at least the original G-Shock squares, right? But that, has gone way beyond, and they've done so much with it. But you can still always sport one, and it never really feels out of style anymore, even though most people probably knows where it pretty much originates from. So that's about it. Ramble enough. So I will catch you in the next. Have a great weekend. Laters.